What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for The Mandalorian Season 2. This is episode 5, and with me, as always, I have Bluespade.
So this was definitely one of the episodes people have been waiting for since, way before the series, the season started, because of the numerous rumors that were going on of Rosario Dawson playing as Ahsoka Tano. Well, now we pretty much get confirmation that, Rosario Dawson is Ahsoka Tano in this episode.
Yeah.
And pretty much at the start of this episode, like, they just immediately just reveal her right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like they don't like hold her back. She just like literally just shows up, like, confronting like all these like soldiers working for a corrupt magistrate holding like a town hostage.
Yeah. Some people thought that she wouldn't show up until maybe like halfway through the episode, or the whole episode wouldn't be about her, but fortunately it is. Yeah, like, I will say it did take a little while for me to kind of get used to her live action version, but because a lot of people are used to seeing her in CG instead of live action, but so a lot of people are curious how it would look, and I think in terms of like the way she looked, I think it was fine, and I think Rosario Dawson definitely nailed the role, but I mean, honestly, I never really saw too much of the Clone Wars series or Rebels, so it's kind of hard for me to like give a definitive comparison or anything, but from what I could see of her character in the series, I thought she was fine. I thought she definitely did really good in the role, at least from what I know of her character. And it was just great to actually see like a Jedi doing Jedi things in the Mandalorian for once, and to see like how they handle a Jedi. And I thought that like I really enjoyed like just seeing whenever she would go into combat with her lightsabers and take people down or like fight somebody. I think the fight choreography was really great. That was like one of the best parts.
Yeah, I just like how stealthy she was in the first part of the episode. Like, she just like goes in charging at different soldiers, and then she just suddenly disappears as soon as she turns off her lightsabers, and then doing various tricks using the Force to try to get around these guys, and then just deliberately cutting these guys down, despite the fact that like the Jedi Order is not known to like to attack first or like blatantly cut people down.
Yeah,
like
so
that.
my friend did tell me she's a gray Jedi. So gray Jedi are kind of, obviously they kind of straddle the line, I guess, between the light and the dark. So Ahsoka is just sort of, as Blue said, she doesn't, I guess, totally follow all the typical rules that the Jedi Council would have followed.
Yeah, and even though like they call her a Jedi, she's not really technically one, to begin with. I mean, Ahsoka herself like acknowledges that she doesn't really call herself a Jedi. She's just completely something else.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah. So like Ahsoka confronts this magistrate, demanding that she give her information on something, which she gives her 1 day to surrender. Pretty much divulge like apparently the magistrate's master's location. So we don't find out until like much later. Pretty much the following scene after that, Mando and the child arrive at the city of Caladan, in which they go into the town, and they both find out that the entire town is being enslaved by the magistrate. Well, you can like literally see people hiding around, and then some people being enslaved and being trapped in like these electrical like cages up top.
Brutal. Like they were just being electrocuted. One thing I will say about the planet itself too is like when they said forest planet, I was kind of like, oh man, here we go, it's another ripoff of Endor. But fortunately, that's not the case. Like, the planet itself is kind of interesting because like it seems like all the trees are dead, and that the planet is kind of just covered in some kind of a gas or a mist or something. So the way it looks is pretty interesting. It's not exactly just like another like indoor clone or something, which I think is good.
Yeah, I mean, you can obviously tell like because of like how the current magistrate is running the planet. She's obviously like just taking up its resources for another purpose. so the Mando arrives in the town, and then the people running the town assume he's hunting for the Jedi, which the Mando is like literally playing the role as the hunter looking for the Jedi. So the magistrate offers Mando to kill Ahsoka but she if he ends up killing Ahsoka Tano, then they'll offer him this Beskar spear that they have in their possession.
Yeah, I didn't know they made weapons out of Beskar. I assumed it was just they made Beskar armor, but I guess you could argue you could make anything out of it. So.
Yeah, because the Empire took possession of it and then just melted their armor down, and they just turned it into almost like gold bars in a way, because Beskar in that universe is the most valuable resource, and it's pretty much like the adamantium of the Star Wars universe. It's literally indestructible.
Yeah, that's something else that I was kind of wondering about, when we get to when Mando actually meets up with Ahsoka, and she fights him, and he tries to protect himself against her lightsaber by using his arm. And my friend who knows a lot about the Star Wars lore was actually surprised that the Beskar was strong enough to withstand a lightsaber blade. And I was kind of I was also kind of surprised, because I didn't think it would actually because I know that of course Beskar can apparently withstand some blaster shots, but I did not. I kind of didn't think it would be able to withstand a lightsaber, but apparently it can.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first time Ahsoka has fought against the Mandalorian. I mean, she's killed Mandalorians before, but she kills them by hitting them in their weak spots in their armor. So obviously Mando's not protected in every part of his body. I mean, she could easily either cut off his arm or decapitate him at a certain location. But of course, Mando ends up stopping the fight when he mentions Bo-Katan to her.
Yeah, he mentions Bo-Katan, and then of course introduces her to the child. And then there's just a long scene with them just just kind of staring at each other, and Mando is sort of in the background pacing. And I guess I don't know if I guess she can can she communicate with him through the Force or something like that, or is that what's going? Because that's how she gets she gets to know who he is and stuff, and I guess that's how they're communicating with each other.
Yeah, I would assume that they're telepathically communicating to each other. So that's where we find out the child's real name, which turns out to be Grogu.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Me and my friend are kind of iffy on the name, but I mean it's okay, I guess. I don't mind it, but I still think either Baby Yoda or the child is probably just going to be the name that sticks with most people, just because that's what they've been calling it. So I don't know if Grogu's really going to stick with the fan base, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a lot. There was some initial resentment to people finding out the kid's real name, but I think maybe or not, this name will stick eventually. But so far, well, right now people will have to get used to it at this point. But yeah, we do find out the child's real history is that he was born in, I don't know if he was born and raised, but he was raised and trained at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant during the events.
That kind of surprised me too, honestly. I was like, wow, I didn't expect that they were going to say that he was actually trained in the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
They must have kept him very well
hidden,
hidden, I guess. Kept him away from people nobody saw.
Yeah. What she mentions is that one of the Jedi ended up taking the child and hiding him away, which she doesn't. She doesn't know who took him, because she tells Mando that parts of Grogu's memory is blank at a certain point, so she doesn't know who took the child from the Jedi Temple after the events of Revenge of the Sith.
I have to wonder though, considering where he came from, do you think it's possible that it could potentially be one of Yoda's offspring or something? Or like, I mean,
I mean, it's well, as we know, Jedi are forbidden to have relationships.
Yeah.
And like to have children. So it's not. I don't see that being possible, to be honest. So I mean, it's like there's like other.
I seriously hope it's
other
not
similar.
A clone. Like that's the only thing. I'm just like, I'm tired of the clone stuff.
No.
I don't want it to be a clone.
No, it's not a clone, but I mean, it makes sense timeline wise because Grogu is 50 years old, and the events of Revenge of the Sith take place like around over 30 years ish. So it still makes sense timeline wise of Grogu's placement of timeline.
I will say it is kind of funny. I saw there was like a meme. It was like it had like Anakin killing the younglings, and like it had like Grogu eating the cookies, and he's like, I just went away for a second. What happened?
Yeah, but yeah. So like the following day, like Ahsoka tests Grogu's power in the Force, trying to like, I guess, pass this, like a stone to him and having it send it back. But Grogu doesn't really understand all that much. So she convinces Mando to help train him, and then using the same stone, but. Of course, the child doesn't react too much with the stone, but instead he reacts well to the little knob that he took from the ship from earlier.
I mean, that makes sense because it's something he had been like messing with up until this point. So,
yeah. And Ahsoka points out that the reason why the child is reacts well to Mando is because of his like strong attachment to him, and it makes sense. And she mentions that she can't train him just because of how strong the attachment is, and she's worried that it's something that she's obviously seen before, and she even though she doesn't name drop him, but she knows like something similar happened to Anakin becoming Darth Vader at that point because of Anakin's strong attachment to Padme at that time.
Yeah, I know another reviewer also mentioned Ahsoka doesn't know about like Anakin's sacrifice, and that he, changed at the last moment of his life. He wasn't the same. He became who he used to be essentially. So she still is kind of holding on to the idea that Anakin was evil, or he turned evil, and that's how he was until he died.
Yeah, I mean, well, we don't know like what happened. I mean, she didn't even find out that Anakin became Darth Vader until like they ended up fighting each other, and they ended up fighting each other during the events of Rebels. And I don't know like if she knew what happened to Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi, unless if she ended up meeting up with Luke Skywalker at one
that's
point.
what I heard people saying would be the justification for like Luke coming in eventually, and like them actually like meeting up and talking, and Luke could actually like tell her what happened. And she could like tell Luke about maybe the events of the Clone Wars or something.
Yeah, but I don't know like if whether or not that they will get into that part of the storyline. But yeah, I feel like I doubt it just because I feel like just it just seems like Disney would have like a huge aversion to like involving any of the OT characters directly into any of this. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's if they were to have a meetup between Ahsoka and Luke, it would probably have to be in an animated show than
I feel like that's
live action,
more likely,
just because. Just due to how impractical it is to involve Mark Hamill to play his character again at this point in time.
Like, there's always recast. I mean, because it couldn't even be Mark Hamill, because if we remember that this takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, so like Mark Hamill couldn't really do it unless they actually do the de-aging thing, which would look really weird, and I don't think it's even possible because considering they don't have as much of a budget for the show. I feel like it'd be more likely that they would recast him. So I think that's probably what would happen.
But yeah, so like of course, like I said before, Ahsoka refuses to train the kid, and Mando doesn't take it too well because he's been tasked to bring the child to a Jedi. So like I mean, she mentions that that she still has another mission to take care of, which is to overthrow the magistrate of the city. So Mando offers to help her out if if she can take the child afterwards. But yeah, I mean, she doesn't really make any promises on that on that front. So they eventually, like, Ahsoka and Mando do eventually, like, go to the city by killing all the guards and freeing the citizens in there. And then, of course, like, it gets into a cool looking chase scene with Ahsoka being chased down by the different guards chasing after her. And then one of the characters, I believe, that's working for the magistrate, I think his name is Lang. I also noticed that this character is played by Michael Biehn. If nobody notices him, he played Kyle Reese from the Terminator.
Oh, okay. Oh, the original Kyle Reese in the first Terminator. Okay.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, he was initially I didn't
notice him
either.
First, he looks
then I recognized him.
I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a lot older than he was back, way back, I think in the 70s or 80s. But yeah, that's him. And another thing I wanted to point out, that the magistrate in this episode is also like a martial artist who's been trained by Bruce Lee.
They said it was Bruce Lee's goddaughter.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah, so they eventually end up taking down the guards, and then Mando's facing down Lang, like almost like if they're
Mexican
doing a
standoff,
quick draw shootout.
We're gonna,
yeah. So like, but the first thing that happens is Ahsoka engages the magistrate in the duel with her using her Beskar spear, which I found pretty interesting that they did a lightsaber duel in this one. With Ahsoka using her lightsabers and then the magistrate using the Beskar spear,
also
which
said that this
is
character,
like pretty
like, he didn't really remember her, but apparently she's a minor character in Clone Wars, I think. I don't know, because Ahsoka, like, apparently, like, mentions, I guess she had some kind of history with her or something. I don't know, but
I don't know. I doubt it, because I don't recall this character ever being in Clone Wars or Rebels at all.
So maybe she's a new character.
So yeah, so like they do engage in a pretty lengthy duel with each other, and Ahsoka manages to subdue her afterwards. And then at the same time, Lang tries to feign surrendering to Mando, but he tries to pull a fast one by drawing his gun, but Mando pulls the trigger first.
I knew he would do that.
Yeah, and then what really surprises me at the end of this is Ahsoka questions her to pretty much ask what happened to Grand Admiral Thrawn, which took me by surprise that they would name drop him.
So okay, so this to me opens up a lot of possibilities, because like, I know, like, I heard in a recent interview, like, the guy that plays Gideon, Carlo Esposito, hinted at, like, his character potentially answering to somebody higher up than him. And one of the theories people said was it could be Thrawn. And I was like, it'd be cool if that were the case, but and then this episode we got a name drop for Thrawn. So I'm wondering if Thrawn is actually going to show up and be the one who could be behind this whole thing of what's going on with the Dark Troopers, or whatever it is he's planning to do. So I'm wondering if he's going to show up, and then we're going to actually get, like, what the Imperial Remnant Thrawn's plan might be. Or if he's going to be, like, more of a thing and the Ahsoka spin-off they're hinting, or that is rumored to happen, I guess.
I think it's likely that they'll bring him in an Ahsoka spin-off, just due to the fact that they were hinting at it for a while. But I would assume that maybe it's possible they might have Thrawn as a villain for season 3 of The Mandalorian.
If he doesn't show up,
it might be a
later
possibility.
In this season.
But I doubt that they'll have Thrawn at this season. Yeah. I mean, but this episode does open up a lot of possibilities of what they might end up doing for later shows down the road.
Now, what I'm wondering is who they might cast for live action Thrawn.
I mean,
somebody said I
for
think
Star
it was like
Wars
Benedict
Rebels
Cumberbatch or something that he could play Thrawn. I could kind of see that, but
it'd be a nice possibility. But if I remember correctly, back in Star Wars Rebels, like the guy who voiced Thrawn is Mad Mikkelsen's brother. I think it was Lars Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen is another possibility too, though. I could easily see that would actually be a fantastic cast if they actually had Mads Mikkelsen come in as play Thrawn.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Mad Mikkelsen already played a character in Rogue One, so I really doubt that they'll provide an explanation if like having a similar looking character, play as Thrawn.
It depends though. Thrawn is, like. I don't know. Like, I mean, Thrawn is not human. Like, technically, he's a chiss or whatever their species is.
Yeah, but Mad Mikkelsen, like I said, Mad Mikkelsen's brother Lars Mikkelsen voice played the character in Star Wars Rebels.
So you think he could possibly play Thrawn in live action?
It's possible they might have him play him. Like, I mean, he doesn't look like him physically, but I think it's possible they might end up pulling it off if they can. Yeah,
that would be great if Thrawn actually comes in, because he's one of the he's a really popular villain, especially within the expanded universe. That would be pretty huge. The only issue I would see with Thrawn is that Thrawn would pose a huge threat to the Galactic Alliance that's currently like rebuilding from after the war with the Empire. So like I don't know how they would do that and not have it be like a huge deal, for the entire galaxy if Thrawn comes back.
Yeah, because like during the events of Star Wars Rebels, like Thrawn was initiating a TIE Defender project, which would have gave the Rebel Alliance trouble at one point had it not been for Ezra stopping him at the end of the show.
Yeah, I heard like Thrawn he disappears at the end of Rebels or something, and that but I mean it would make sense if he does come back in this show, because it's been years since the events of Rebels, I think, within the timeline.
Yeah, but yeah, so once the city has been freed, like Ahsoka gives Mando the Beskar spear that was originally promised to him if he killed Ahsoka, but Mando ends up taking it anyway. So he goes back to the ship to apparently try to say his last goodbyes to Grogu, but Ahsoka comes back, and then she still reaffirms like her status of not wanting to train the child. So she does give Mando an alternative by taking the child to a Jedi temple on Tython, which, for those that don't know, Tython is a planet that was featured in the Old Republic online game from BioWare.
Have we seen Tython in anything like outside of the game yet, or is this like?
No. This is the first time that they're going to introduce it into live action. But I don't know if they're going to end up changing that planet, because if I remember in the game, it was kind of almost like a Yavin-like forest planet in a way. But it's possible they might end up changing the aesthetics of the planet. So so she tells him to take him to Tython, and then so Grogu may be able to call out to another Jedi through the Force if it's even possible, or Grogu may choose to stay with Mando for the rest of his life. So I don't know where that's going to lead to, but yeah, that's pretty much Mando's next destination at
and
this
that
point.
Also like made me wonder, like there's multiple different possibilities, I think, for what Jedi could possibly show up if there is a Jedi that shows up. There's at least a couple possibilities I can, and we also should take into consideration it could be a new character too, like but just in terms of its existing characters, like my assumption are a few different ones. It would be like either Cal Kestis, Ezra from Rebels, possibly.
I think those are the two likely candidates to come
I will
back.
say there is the very small possibility of either another EU character, because and I wouldn't discard that possibility, because we have seen things being introduced into this show that are from the expanded universe, so I wouldn't totally say it's not possible, but there's also the and I would say this is a very small possibility, but they possibly Luke, but I don't think so. But I would not completely like rule it out. But I don't think it would
I mean, in my opinion, I think Luke would be the last choice that they would put in there, just because like of all the stuff.
It might be Ezra. Like I feel like my money's probably on Ezra.
Yeah, it's likely to be Ezra. If not him, then it's maybe Cal Kestis. I mean, they could, like, if it's Cal Kestis, they might bring back Cameron Monaghan to play his character
that would be
again
cool if it was
for live
Cal
action.
Kestis and we see like Cameron, you know, him in live action.
Yeah, but if it's Filoni doing this, and it's Ezra's pretty high on the list there. So, but I really doubt that they'll take the risk of introducing a brand new Jedi out of nowhere, unless if it's a Jedi from the Clone Wars they're not aware of. But honestly, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of options either, because there still isn't that many Jedi around. So
no, yeah. But overall, I did enjoy this episode. In my opinion, this was like literally the best episode of the season so far. Yeah, it's so far it's gotten better. Like with them introducing Bo-Katan into live action a couple episodes ago, and now they're introduced Ahsoka Tano as a live action character for this one, and possibly they might bring her back for maybe another episode, or give her a spin-off series later down the line.
Yeah, it seems like we are getting a lot of spin-off series from these characters. Like I'm not complaining though. Like if it maintains the quality of Mandalorian, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it seems like Filoni and Favreau are planning their own MCU themed series.
People are saying it's the Filoniverse or something. So I mean,
this is essentially what it's going to be, because like Filoni and Favreau have been doing like almost a fantastic job doing doing the work and trying to tell their own stories for the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, I would be totally okay with that, because it's like these stories, like they factor in pretty well for stuff that takes place after Return of the Jedi, and it feels like kind of a natural continuation of of what we of the universe, or the Star Wars universe after that. So yeah, but yeah, this is like Blue Spade said, this is also my favorite episode of the season so far. I mean, I hope they can top this episode, but I don't know if it's likely. I mean, unless they literally do bring in Thrawn near the end of this season, or if they, which is what I expect will eventually happen, they bring in the Dark Troopers to, fight Mando, which I think would be an amazing episode too. I'm kind of expecting that to eventually happen though.
Honestly, I don't see Thrawn coming in, because it would like detract attention away from Gideon as being a threat.
They might tease him though. Like I feel like that's possible. Tease him.
But yeah, I really think that Gideon is still like the biggest.
We've
threat
also completely forgotten
so
about Boba Fett. Like I don't know if he's even going to show up again at this point. Like if he is going to show up, like and he's going to try to get his armor back. Like that's another possibility. This Boba Fett could show up.
I feel like he's gonna pop up out of nowhere and then take the armor back. But I think it's a possibility that he might show up again.
Yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about it. This was a great episode. Like I think my favorite parts were like just the action scenes with Ahsoka, like the fight choreography. I thought it was great to actually see like a Jedi doing Jedi things again, and also like I really like how like that one scene, I don't think we really went over that, but she like explains how you need like extensive training in order to be able to properly wield the Force. It to me, like I don't know about you, but to me that kind of felt like a bit of a jab at Rey, like in the sequels, because
in a funny way, in a subtle funny way too. I remember like other shows like I think Clone Wars also did throw in some silent jabs at even at the original prequel trilogy and how that was handled, and they eventually like fixed some things to make it even better. So I thought that's an interesting way that they're trying to get around that.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have too much else to say about the episode aside from that. Like, it was and of course, like, my favorite part aside from just the fight choreography is just, you know, them name dropping Thrawn. I just feel like that, as well as, you know, them taking Baby Yoda, or, you know, Grogu to that planet, kind of opens the door for multiple different possibilities of what we could see in the future. So I'm really excited, you know, as to what we might see later on in this season, what might get revealed. So really excited for that. But aside from that, yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about it. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I'm curious on on what they're gonna do with all of this. Hopefully, if it'll pay off in the end.
Yeah. Well, that all being said, until next Friday, we will see you all next time.